So, for my small following, I don't have a lot of followers, but I'm doing an update video. On my last, it was just a short. I was hospitalized. I'm at home now. Um, I feel a lot better, but everything that happened. Let me just explain everything that happened. So Tuesday, I was at work. I work in a hospital. And Tuesday, I was at work. And, I hadn't been feeling up to myself for the 3 weeks leading up to it. I had been having like a lot of soft stools for like 3 weeks leading up to this. But then 3 days before I went into the hospital, I just had like diarrhea that was watery. I'm sorry if this is too much for anybody's ears, but it was like just straight water. Anything I ate, it just came through. But I went to work Tuesday. I felt okay. I mean, I had been working. I was on call even that past weekend, and I went to work, and you know, I seemed okay. I had been dealing with digestive issues for the last 7 years. I had some surgeries 7 years ago. I had part of my small intestine removed. I've had just multiple things that have been going on. So I have been dealing with it, and I have gone to doctors over the years and never, ever, ever could find any answers as to exactly what is going on to me. And because I had been through, multiple surgeries. I had a lot of different issues. You get tired of going to the doctor and not getting the answer. You get tired of spending your money and you're not getting any resolution. So I just, I just started to just self-diagnose and do a lot on my own. And I have sustained myself like through change of diet, through food elimination, through supplementation, herbal. I have maintained myself as best as I could for the last 6, 7 years. Worked, traveled, exercised, but I've always just been in pain. I've always just had these issues and never really been able to figure out what's been going on. So, just the last month or so, I had a stent placed in my kidney like 2 months ago, and then after that, I had that removed, and then I don't know, something in me just broke and was like, I got tired. I just started to feel tired of fighting, and ultimately, this past Tuesday, I was at work around 1, 2 o'clock. I just started having abdominal pain, and it got so bad where I had to call my manager and tell her to just let me go. And my intention, because I have dealt with pain and dealt with symptoms and issues for so long, that I was just going to go home. That was my intention. And I drove halfway home, and I got halfway there and I was on the road. And when I tell you the pain that I was in was excruciating. The abdominal pain that I had was in my abdomen, my upper abdomen, across my liver, across my diaphragm, my mid abdomen, my lower pelvic abdomen. I'm sorry I work in healthcare, but like my pelvic region, my entire abdomen, from my pelvis to the front, to the back, all the way up, it was excruciating pain. And so, because I had been to so many different hospitals and I work at hospitals, I knew which hospitals I didn't want to go to, the ones that I refused to go to. I work at a hospital for kids, and there's an adult hospital literally a few feet across the street from me. But because I know how bad their emergency room is, I refuse to go. I refuse to go there. So I drove, and there was another hospital near me, and I know how terrible they are. You might not make it out. So I decided, you know what? Let me go to this other hospital that's way uptown where I know, I don't want to say where the people that got money, it's a hospital up there where people got money. So I went to that hospital, and I thought maybe I could get out the car. Thank God they had an emergency room, and it was parking right in front of the emergency room. I opened the door. I couldn't even walk. I couldn't even get out of my car. I couldn't even walk inside the building. That's how much pain I was in. I just sat in the car with my door open and I cried. And it happened to be a security guard and another guy out there. And they called for, I don't know what type of code at their particular hospital, but they called for a code or a rapid response. And they had to carry me out of my car into the hospital. And I didn't even have to triage. They triaged me. They just took my ID and triaged me in and took me straight back to a room. Um, and they go through the process, asking you what's going on. I told them about the abdominal pain, where the pain was, when it started. They were asking like, is it food poisoning? I'm like, no, I hadn't been out eating or anything like that. And I hadn't changed my diet. I'm pretty strict with my diet anyway, just because I noticed that when I would eat certain things, it would just bother me. But so I don't think it was anything crazy. So they do all your blood work, your tests. The pain level that I was in, they gave me fentanyl, and fentanyl was not enough. They gave me one dose of fentanyl. The fentanyl did nothing. That's how much pain I was in. They had to give me a second dose of fentanyl. And even still, the pain it wouldn't subside. It took hours before I even started to get a mild form of relief. And, of course, they're going to do a CT scan. And they did that. And once they came back and talked to me about my CT scan, they pretty much were saying, like, my abdomen had fluid. I don't know if they said it was fluid in my large intestines and my small intestines. They said my entire colon was inflamed. And it looked as if my gallbladder was also inflamed. My liver was inflamed. Like, I heard them talking about liver damage. They said they were bringing in a surgeon to come and talk to me because of my gallbladder. I mean, it was just like, it was a lot of stuff being said. So they had me on the pain meds, and then because they said that it looked infected, you know, they said my intestines and my colon and everything looked infected. My labs were so abnormal that it looked as if my body, I'm not going to say looked as if my body was fighting some form of infection. My white blood cell count was like literally minimal to none. My red blood cells, everything, it was just a lot. I looked at my labs later on, a few days later, and that's when I realized how bad things were. So they put me on IV antibiotics, even though they did not know exactly where this inflammation was coming from. They admitted me, and that's the video that I made where I was like, I don't want to go back home. They had me on IV antibiotics while I was there the entire time, and they ran a lot of blood tests. And as they had me on IV antibiotics, we saw a drastic improvement, even though they did not know exactly what type of infection I was dealing with. They just didn't know. But they could tell it was something, right? But I'm asking them to, do blood cultures. And you know how in the hospital, when sometimes they don't listen to you. I mean, they just don't for whatever reason. So they didn't do blood cultures. They had me on isolation because they were checking to see if I had C. diff, because I had a history of being on heavy antibiotics for a period of time, and it can cause that. And, so we had to wait for those results to come back, but they treated me for it just in case. But treating me with the antibiotics made a drastic improvement. My labs still not, you know, like most of my labs still were abnormal. Liver enzymes, everything abnormal. Uh, red blood cells. My white blood cell count went from drastically low to drastically high. But me and the pain and like I don't want to say energy, I guess my energy, it improved a lot. So after like 4 days, they let me go because, once they put you back together, it's not much they can do. I know, I work in a hospital, so I know how it goes. And then they refer you to specialists based on your symptoms and based on your issues. And based off of reading the CT scan, because they were trying to figure out what's the fibroids, because they saw fibroids there, and I've had surgery on my bladder, and I've had part of my small intestines removed because I had a myomectomy, and the myomectomy actually caused me to develop a small bowel obstruction. So they had to remove my gallbladder and remove part of my intestines a few years ago. And I have just been dealing with stuff over the years, but I have been dealing with this particular issue undiagnosed for 6-7 years. And when I tell you, it has been rough, it has been sometimes debilitating. But like I said, I'm very knowledgeable about herbal and alternative methods and things like that. And I have held myself together, but I'm at a point where I'm like, God, I cannot hold myself together anymore. I can't do it anymore. And I know my channel is called Fighting the Faith, and I'm just like, I have been fighting for so long that I don't even have no more fight left in me. My body is tired. And I don't think people understand when you're dealing with something that has to do with digestive issues and your bowel and your colon. I don't think they understand how debilitating that can be and how much it takes out of you. Because on the outside you look fine, but I have literally been in pain almost every day for the last 6 years. And I'm not going to say that it's been drastic pain. Sometimes it could be mild, you know what I mean? Enough where you ignore it and you don't pay attention to it. And I live my life, and you can still have fun, but it's just always been there. And they referred me to a GI doctor that deals with Crohn's disease and colitis. And me, because of who I am, even if they diagnose me, and they pretty much kind of have somewhat diagnosed me based on the report from the CT scan, and they pretty much saying that suspected colitis, and I know that a lot of that has to do with like Crohn's disease, irritable bowel disease. And once I researched irritable bowel disease, everything, all of my issues, all of my symptoms that I have been going through for the last 7 years kind of match up with that. Like it matches up. But me being who I am, because I'm trusting God for healing, I'm not going to come into agreement with it. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to seek help or, you know what I'm saying, treatment or anything like that. I'm not one of those type of people that don't believe in doctors at all. But I just don't like to, claim and, be, this is what I have, and, rah rah. That's not what I'm out here to do. I think that's the diagnosis that they have given me, and they have referred me to a doctor that deals with that. I mean, and I've been wanting to know what has been wrong with me for so long. It's so hard when you're dealing with something and you don't know what you're dealing with and you don't have an answer. And because I've been fighting for so long, trying to hold myself together, trying to put the pieces of my body back together, forcing myself to be okay, I'm at a point now where I don't have no fight left. I don't. And I'm praying to God and I'm telling him I don't have no more fight left in me. I always, no matter what surgery, no matter what I went through, I would always pull myself out. I would always, fight to get myself up and go to work every day and work out. But it's like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And I know it's people with way, way, way worse situations than me. So trust me, I'm not trying to diminish what anybody else is going through, because somebody could look at me and be like, at least you got this, and at least I get that. I just once I started reading up on it, and some people are having to get their colon removed, and I'm just like, yo, Lord, I don't want no more organs taken out of me. And the thing was, like, I'm tired of doctors wanting to chop on me and take organs from me. Because even when I was in the hospital, they brought in a gynecologist because of the fibroids, and they're talking about, well, let's schedule an appointment so we can talk about doing a hysterectomy. And I'm like, I don't want a hysterectomy. I don't want y'all taking nothing else from me. And then I'm like, okay, let's say you take something else. You take my uterus from me to try to solve this issue. And that ain't the issue, because that's what I went through. I went and had all these fibroids removed, which I did have a lot, because we thought that would solve the issue, when all the while that wasn't even the issue. It was my bowel. So it's like, I don't want nobody keep chopping on me and taking stuff from me, and you ain't really fixing the problem. So I'm just at a point where I'm like, God, you're going to have to carry me through this. I feel so tired. Like, I want to exercise right now. I want to lift some weights. I want to do something. But it's like my body just, it won't let me right now. I'm off for the rest of this week. And I'm scheduled to go back next week. And I'm just like, I don't have no sit down at no desk job. I work in a hospital. I do x-ray. I push equipment around for a living. I do a lot of lifting and pushing and, on my feet. And I'm just like, God, I gotta work. It's just me. It's just me. Yeah, my son helps me, here and there, but ultimately, it's just me. And I'm going to do another video later on, because it's my dog. A lot of this started, I was in a narcissistic abusive relationship for years. And a lot of my issues started when I was in that. And I will do a video about that, because a lot of people have developed a lot of diseases while they were in those type of abusive relationships. And yeah, it hurts. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. But I'm at home for those who care. Like I said, I don't have a lot of following. And those that encouraged me in my other short, thank you. And anybody that prayed for me, thank you. I appreciate it.